Hey everyone. I just wanted to explain to you, I think this is kind of the easiest way to do this is to make a video explaining how to use my interface and how to load everything up to make it go. So there are 4 players for the piece, and everyone has this basic interface, although if I pull up another one like the soprano part, you'll see it's a little bit different. And the bass part is different too. Everyone essentially has the same interface, but it is a little different in functionality and role, of course, as we go here. So just to start with, obviously you need to configure your DSP. It's down here below the preset button. So if you need to configure this, it'll work. The first thing to do when you load up the patch is to remember that first, your joystick has to be plugged in for this to work. For some reason, the joystick, if you add it later, it will not be picked up. So it has to be loaded. The joystick has to be plugged into the computer before you open the patch, or the joystick will not register. Even if you try and go in and force a new pole of the object, it's still not going to register it. So plug in the joystick. And then the first thing you're going to do is click on Extreme 3D Pro. It should pop up, and that is the joystick itself. So when I click on that, you should now see X and Y axis motion on the keyboard or on the joystick on the little pad. So the second thing you need to do is load the library, okay? And the library button is right here. You click library and you load the folder that has everything in it. And as you can see, the folder has all the audio files you'll need for the patch. So I say open, then I'm ready to load the presets. So I go down here, press load, and in this case, I'm on the alto part. So I'm gonna go to alto presets and load that, open. And as soon as I hit preset 1, you can see now that the list populates up here with all the audio files, but it's totally ready to go and it's going to start working right away. Okay. So you can see it's actually started already, but it's off. So that's kind of annoying. There are little things like that that have driven me up the wall that I've been trying to sort out. But don't worry about it really, because we haven't started the piece yet. So we're ready to start the piece though. And the first thing I suggest you do is hit this button down here that says Reset Performance, okay? It's also Shift R is going to reset the performance. And as you can see, what it's done is it's started, it also reset this playhead here, which can be reset with this button too. But that's because it's on cycle right now, right? So it's cycling through the audio file. But again, it's still off, so there's not going to be any sound. So in order to play the piece, I suggest you hit Reset Performance and then hit the space bar immediately. And it's going to basically start, okay? This is your main gain control for all sound, okay, from the samples, from the granulator itself. Obviously, the main outputs are down here at the bottom, and you can adjust those accordingly. The M key, M as in mother, is the mute button. It's also down here at the bottom of the DAC. You can plug that in at any time, turn it on and off. And it's just a convenient way to have that there. So once you hit the spacebar, you do not touch the spacebar again for the rest of the piece. It basically plays through the entire piece in one sitting, okay? Some things are automated for you and other things aren't. The biggest thing, really, the only thing that's automated for you is what happens once you switch presets. So first of all, if I press 1, 2, 3, 4, the actual keys, it's going to switch to different presets. It'll go to preset 2. But I did not program it to automatically go to preset 2 when it's time. I kind of wanted you to do that and have a little bit of variation, the human element. So it does not automatically switch to the next preset. You can also see on the preset right now, it is pacing through these notes and showing you when you're playing them, okay? So literally you just need to follow along with this. The alto part is playing the top voice in this 3-part harmony, sorry, because the soprano is playing a melody. And I am playing this melody with the joystick. So the joystick vertical motion is going to change the pitch. the center of the joystick is always the first note. So if I want to go down a whole step, I have to bend down a whole step and hold the joystick there. So you're managing pitch with the joystick. Up and down goes up a fifth and down a fourth. And you basically, the center of pitch, you need to play this chorale, I say in quotes, at the pace it's asking. When we switch to preset 2, you're going to see that you have some new controls, right? So first of all, I can just go to preset 2 by hitting preset 2. If I hit the preset, well, it's not going to go if I click on this down here in the preset object, or if I hit the key on the computer 2, it will go to the second preset. And now I have control of, first of all, the length and the rate of the granular synthesizer. And actually, there are 2 buttons on top of the joystick that control the on and off switches for controlling the rate and the length. So I want you can find those really easily. They're on top of the key, on top of the joystick. You'll discover them, and you can just use those. Because sometimes it's really cool to like turn down the rate really fast and then turn it off and fix it, and then have to play with the length only, or vice versa. Turn off the rate and move, or the length, and fix it, and then move the rate by itself. The panning in this section is rotating the joystick left and right. And then the distortion is changed by this throttle slider that's below the joystick. You'll notice there's a little slider. It's a little knobby thing with I don't know what you call it, a tab on it that you can swing it up and down. That adds distortion. Okay, so feel free to improvise with those things over the course of these 4.5 minutes. In preset 3, you're expected to essentially play these chords. Now it's going to show you down here what chords I want, but you have to actually click them over here. Okay, so it just switched to the 4 chord. So I'm going to switch to the 4 chord, or the 6 chord, sorry. And then it's going to go back to 1. So I click 1 again. And I'm clicking them over here, right? And it's going to go back again to 4. Or to 6, sorry. 6 again. And I think this time it goes to 7. So I'm going to switch to 7. And then go back to 1. Okay? So you can also see in this section, it says here, trigger at the 6 samples at will. On the joystick, there are 6 buttons, and they correspond to these R's. Oh, they should not be R's, man. Those are generated from my random objects, but I will delete all the R's out of them. They are literally just the 6 buttons on the computer. Or sorry, not on the computer, on the joystick, on the left side. You'll see them corresponding. And they just play samples. So I want you to also play around with those. Again, that's more improvisation, kind of triggering those 6 samples at will over the course of that section. So anyway, so then the last part of the piece, at the bottom here, it's a recap of the beginning, of course, but it's a little bit different because, you know, it's now in 4-part harmony. So I would hit number 4 to switch to preset 4. And now once again, I'm granulating over the course of a long progression with my center pitch, again, indicated by what part I'm playing, right? Which is the high C in the second treble clef with the tenor. Yeah, and so that's it. The piece, in addition to, like in preset 3 here, you'll see that the filtering is also being controlled by the left and the right axis, along with rate and length. And this is different for every part. So like the tenor part actually is not inverting the data. So it's it's basically going in the same direction as the other part. So that's kind of cool. And you're basically, you know, so everyone's part is doing a little bit different things. Okay. I can hit when I get to the end here, I can hit the space bar and it will stop. Okay. And that will be the end of the piece. And it's about what, 12 minutes or something like that. Just to look at another part, let's do this one more time. So you can see, actually, I am going to save this. First, I'm going to clear these out and hit save. If I, for instance, look at the bass part, the bass part is a little bit different because the bass is playing the bass. So again, just to recap what I'm going to do, joysticks plugged in before I load the patch. Now I go down here and I choose Extreme Pro 3D, and now I can see it's working. The next thing I want to do is load the library. I could load the presets first, but obviously the libraries needs to be it needs to be scripted out so that the presets work. So I hit the library. It's the folder that we're using for everything. Enter. Then I load the presets. Now I've got bass presets here, load, open, and then again, as soon as I hit 1, it's going to start going, right? But again, it's not going to turn on, but you can see this is starting to move a little bit, okay? So just like before, I hit Shift R to start at the beginning. Shift R, and then if I want to hit reset performance, play, it's going to start. So it's now playing, right? You might want to change the gain here. This is not connected to a preset, so it can be changed and won't change based on presets at all. Anyway, so now, and you can see I'm pacing through the bass part here. In part 2, the bass starts playing these chords or these bass notes after 2 minutes. So after 2 minutes, you'll see, after 2 minutes, you're going to see these these turn red to indicate to you when you're supposed to move. In part 3, it's the same as the other parts, but you're playing fundamental bass notes instead. So you're not playing, you won't hear the chords. I'm showing you what the chords are that are playing while you play this bass part. Okay. And then part 4 is your easy part, because you don't do anything. You really don't do anything because it's holding out that low C the entire time and you don't have to do anything at all. Okay. Because you're not changing pitches. In the soprano part, just to clarify a little bit, soprano part does not use the joystick in part 1. It actually needs to use, obviously I'm not going to ask you to play this melody on a joystick, so you need a MIDI keyboard plugged in, and that's it. So you need a MIDI keyboard and a joystick, because part 4 you need the joystick to play these chords down at the bottom, right? So you'll need a joystick to play the top notes here. But obviously in part 1, you need a MIDI keyboard to play this melodic material. All right, that's it.